Today I'm going to show you how to play an acoustic fingerstyle arrangement of How Great Thou Art that I've been working on. And the way that this is going to work is there's going to be chord diagrams in the corner so you can see exactly what I'm playing and exactly the fingerings that I'm using. And I'm going to go ahead and start by playing through a verse, chorus, and an ending of How Great Thou Art so you can see how it all goes together and get an idea of what we're trying to do. Then we're going to break it down piece by piece and talk about it in sections of the verse and then the chorus and then the ending that we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and jump in, but one thing that you need to know as we get started is you can see I have a capo here on fret 3, and so all the chord diagrams and everything that I'm saying referencing fret numbers is going to be referencing this capo as the nut of the guitar. So if I am right here, I'm going to say that this is fret 1, 2, 3 right here because I'm referencing the capo as the nut. So let's go ahead and get started with playing through a verse, chorus, and ending so you can get an idea of how this is going to sound. Here we go. Alright, so that is just a verse, chorus, ending of how this song is going to go so you can get an idea of what we're trying to do. So now let's go ahead and break it down into pieces. So we're going to start with the verse, and the verse is really just two of the same section, one repeated right after the other. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start with this G major shape right here that I'm sure you're all familiar with. But when we're playing fingerstyle and finger picking acoustic guitar, we often are not going to be using the entire shape. We're only going to be using the pieces that we're actually picking because we're not going to be hitting all the strings at once most of the time. And so in this case, we're going to start no pinky, no first finger, and we're going to be using our third and second fingers to pick back and forth as we begin on the second and third strings like this. And then we pick together with the thumb when we hit that open note down here. So back and forth, and then open, and with the thumb. So we're opening up the second string for our melody, and we're adding then the thumb for the bass note. So like this. And that in between, we're picking with our first finger and second finger on these two open notes here. Like that. So here we go. Then we're going to bring back up with our third finger here, and then we're going to shift up to a D shape with an A in the bass, immediately followed by a G shape with a B in the bass here. And so as we move past that, it's like a D major chord, but we're not going to use that. Our melody's still on the second string. And then we shift our first finger down here to the second fret on the fifth string for that G with the B in the bass. And then we're going to move up to a traditional C shape right here, and then our melody is going to move up to the first string like that. So we're actually picking together. Important thing to remember as we're going through this, a lot of times we will be playing just a single note for the melody, and lots of times we'll be playing a couple notes with it as we're moving the melody around. So right here we start by doing 2 notes together on the top with our second and third finger, and then we switch to just a single note for the melody on the second string. So like this, and then back up to the first string again. So let's try just that much so far. So here we go, back here with the G shape, the partial G shape, then open and together with the bass note, and then up to that D with the A, G with the B, traditional C shape, second string melody, top string melody. Then we have a pause there. We pluck our melody again on that open first string. And then we're going to jump up to kind of a different chord that you may not be familiar with. It's a C sharp diminished 7. And this one's going to go right here. And so we have our first finger on the 4th fret of the 5th string, our third finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string, and our second finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and pinky on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. So like this. And we're going to jump back down to a partial G shape, but we're actually in a different fingering than we were before. Now our pinky's here on the 2nd string, and our third finger is here on the 6th string. And those are going to trade back and forth as we go throughout this arrangement. So be aware of that. We're going to be switching in and out with those 2 fingerings depending on where we need our fingers and depending on where we're coming from, because we want to make our transitions as smooth as we can. Let's go ahead and come again off that. And we're just going to open up for that melody again. And then we're going to jump to a D chord, but this is going to be in a different shape than we're used to. We are going to have this D chord shaped like this, so we can get all the notes in there and have our melody still sitting up on top on this 2nd string here. So it's on top of our chord. We're playing the 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. And our pinky is going to be up on fret 5, and then our third finger is going to be on fret 4. Our first finger is going to be on fret 2, and our second finger is going to be on fret 3. And again, the reason we're using this different shape is to keep our melody up on top while still keeping the full chord underneath. If we were to use this shape here, which you could do, you just won't have the full chord and you're only going to have 3 strings to play on right there. Whereas when we do like this, we can get the full chord and we have 4 strings that we get to play on. So we go from there down to the traditional C shape, melodies on the first finger there, on the 2nd string, and then back to a partial G. And it's just really just this third finger here, and we're open. That's just a little thing that I like to do in between while we wait for the melody to come back as we're at the halfway point in the verse. And you don't have to do that. You can just let it ring and wait for the verse melody to start again. But if you would like to do that, it just goes like this. It's just a pinky here on the 3rd fret, 2nd string, and then we're going to do a bunch of pull-offs here. We're going to go pull off to first finger, pull off to open, pluck, 2nd finger on the 3rd string on the 2nd fret, pull off to open. So, like that. And then that's halfway through the verse. The second half of the verse is the exact same thing again. However, you can see now we're in a different position than when we started in. So as we do that, we come down. I'm going to go ahead and immediately switch back to that original position that I started in by trading places with my 2nd finger and my 3rd finger. So it looks like this. And then we start back over to the second half of the verse, which is a repeat of the first half. So now let's go ahead and play through that pattern 2 times to make an entire verse. Remember, what we just did is 1 time through. We're just going to repeat it again a 2nd time to make the whole verse. And if you're having trouble with these shapes and if these are new to you, please feel free to just pause the video, kind of get your hands onto those shapes a little bit and play again, and then we're going to just play through a whole verse very slowly. We're going to play it really, really slowly just to try to get our fingers to go where we want them to go. So here it goes, like this. And at that point, we're about ready to go into the chorus, which we're gonna change up from there. And so, as you just saw right there at the end, I switched back, just like we do at the halfway point of the verse. We're gonna switch back to this position, because that's the position we're also gonna start the chorus from. So let's go ahead and jump into the shapes of the chorus. So we're gonna be starting, like I said, from this same shape here, and it even starts with the same 2 strings, same 2 notes, but then this is where we're gonna start stretching just a little bit. So we're starting from this G shape, this partial G shape. Then we're going to put our pinky on to get our melody note up there. And then here comes the stretch. So we're bringing our pinky all the way up here up to fret 7. And we are going to be bringing our first finger trading places for that G note on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. So like this. And that one might take a little time getting that stretch out. That's okay. It took me a while to get that too. And then the melody's going to come back down to fret 5. And then we're going to go to traditional C shape, but with our pinky carrying the melody on the 1st string on the 3rd fret. And so you can see 2nd finger then took the melody on the 1st string right there just for a moment, then right back to pinky. And then we're going to open up the 1st string to the open position for our melody. And then we're going to drop back down to our partial G shape here with our 3rd finger on the 6th string and our pinky on the 2nd string, both 3rd fret. And then we're going to switch our position again where we trade places. So where we're here, and then we bring up melody back to the pinky on the 1st string. And then we let our 1st finger take the melody here on the 1st string, 2nd fret, and then we're going to drop back down to that D shape that we had before. But this time we're actually only going to use pinky, 3rd, and 1st when we initially strike the chord, because our melody then is on the 3rd string under that 1st finger, but then we will use this finger as we pick through like this. Then we're going to drop to traditional C shape right there. And then we're going to open up on the top our 1st string, open for the melody. And then our pinky's going to come in on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string for our melody. And then back to this open partial G shape as we are about halfway through the chorus at this point. And then right there, as we're at that halfway point through the chorus, I like to throw in another one of those little lines that just kind of fills in while the melody is gone. It goes like this. So we start by picking on that 2nd string and then hammering on, pulling off, picking the 3rd string, pulling off, and then together with our 1st finger and our thumb plucking on the G on the bass note and the D that's open. So one more time. Like that. And so right there, we're at that halfway point in the chorus. So in the chorus, we're also going to start repeating like what we did already for the 1st half of the chorus. But unlike the verse where it's exactly the same, the chorus does change later on. So we need to get back though to that starting position because it is the same as we go into the 2nd half of the chorus. So it's going to look like this. We're going to swap places with our 2nd and 3rd finger. So if we're coming off that little line, sounds like this. And then we're back into the part that we already started with that big stretch. We just switched places. So we did a switch on this G note between our 3rd finger to our 2nd finger to our 1st. One more time on that. So if we're coming off the line at the halfway point, and then it just keeps repeating. Then at this point it changes. We're going to go back to a D with an A in the bass, but this time we actually are using our 2nd finger on top as well. And then that G with the B in the bass, but again, our melody is up on the top on the 1st string with our pinky here. And then we're going to slide up and we're going to use a droning D bass note over the next few chords. So our first finger is going to come up to fret 5 and bar across the first 3 strings. And then we slide it up again to fret 7 for the next one. And then we're going to slide it up again, 1 more fret, but then our second finger is going to come in to the 9th fret here, whereas our first finger is on the 8th fret. And then we slide back down. And this time we're on the 7th fret there, but we're only going to use the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings that we're playing. And then we come back to an open G shape here. And we're using pinky at this point to keep our melody note, and our second finger here on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. Just like that. So now let's see if we can play through that chorus just going very slowly and see if we can make those chord changes. So here we go, real slow. All right, great. So at that point, you could then go back and repeat a verse and a chorus, depending on how many times you want to go through, or if you're singing along with it, you might want to sing all 4 verses. And so then you just go back and repeat from the beginning. One little extra thing that I like to try to do at the very end is I repeat the last line, but then I slow it down to just show that it's coming to an end, and then I like to go up and do kind of a fun little thing with harmonics. So let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. And so this is as though we are going to be repeating the very last line of the song, and it's going to slow down as it comes to a finish. So we're throwing in some artificial harmonics there, and it just makes it a very nice, pretty ending. It's a little bit tricky. I'm not that great at it, but it's a fun spot to throw it in. And so all we're doing is we're repeating the exact same line we did, but when we get up to the top, we're slowing down, and then we play the single note by itself, and then we come down here. So we're going to make our G shape, and we're going to get ready for this whole G shape, but this one's going to be off to start with. And the way that artificial harmonics work is that you're going to touch with your first finger on the matching fret of where you're fretting, but an octave higher. So we're going to go ahead and come up here. We're going to touch right there where we're fretting, and then I'm going to pluck with my third finger behind it. So it's going to look like this. We're going to just follow those frets up while we pluck with our ring finger and touch with our first finger, and then we're going to fret our third finger there and then come up to the top. So very pretty, a little bit tricky, but it's a fun thing to be able to do, so give it a try, see what you think. So now let's go ahead and take the whole thing, and we're going to try to play the whole thing together just very slowly, getting our chord transitions. Here we go, let's begin. So that's how to play an acoustic finger style arrangement of How Great Thou Art. I hope that this was helpful for you in learning how to play it, and maybe that you learned something new. And if you did, I hope that you'll drop a like and maybe even subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you next time.